Hi, I'm Ann Webb, Policy Director at Common Cause North Carolina, and these are 5 things you need to know in North Carolina politics this week. Number 1. Last Friday, a new Republican majority on the state Supreme Court issued 3 harmful decisions that undermine the freedoms of North Carolinians. In its first ruling, the court radically broke from settled law and overturned a ban on partisan gerrymandering. That decision opens the door to legislators drawing new state and congressional voting districts this year that could be extreme gerrymanders, depriving voters of a voice in choosing their representatives. Number 2, in its second ruling last Friday, the state Supreme Court reinstated a requirement that North Carolina voters present photo ID in order to vote, a requirement shown to be racially discriminatory. In doing so, the court also undermined decades of law on how courts decide when a law is racially discriminatory. Because of that ruling, voter ID will be required as soon as this fall's local elections. Number 3. The third court ruling last Friday revoked voting rights of 56,000 North Carolinians with prior felony convictions who had completed their terms of incarceration. This ruling disenfranchises thousands of North Carolinians and creates an unjust hurdle for them to have their voting rights restored, disproportionately impacting people of color in our state. In response to these harmful court decisions, Common Cause and our partners around the state are working hard to demand fair maps, ensure voter ID is fairly implemented, and protect all voters' rights to access the ballot box. Number 4. It was May Madness at the legislature this week with what's called the crossover deadline. This is the legislature's self-imposed rule requiring bills to pass at least one chamber in order to remain eligible for consideration during the remainder of the 2-year legislative session. The crossover deadline drove a chaotic week at the legislature as lawmakers voted on a whirlwind of bills, often with limited debate and no opportunity for public comment. There are exceptions and loopholes built into the crossover deadline, including bills dealing with elections or the budget, or pretty much any bill that powerful legislative leaders support. Number 5.
The people united will never be defeated.
The most egregious example of reckless lawmaking this week came in the way legislative leaders irresponsibly pushed through new restrictions on abortion access. Late Tuesday night, details of those new restrictions were first released after Republican lawmakers struck a secret deal behind closed doors. That gave the public, reporters, and even other lawmakers less than 11 hours, most of it overnight, to review the complex bill before it was taken up in committee the next morning. Even then, it was not possible to amend the bill. After a deeply troubling process, these highly controversial restrictions on abortion passed along party lines. Governor Roy Cooper announced that he will veto the bill, but sustaining that veto could be a challenge since Republicans currently have enough members to override the governor's veto. Those were 5 things you need to know in North Carolina politics this week. Find us online at commoncausenc.org.